Despite being a complete unknown on these here tubes of you, I still have viewers writing in to ask me questions. Questions usually along the lines of, what the hell is wrong with you? Sometimes, though, I get other questions. Like this question from Ultimate Nova X. How would you feel if Nintendo ditched the console competitions and just became a rather juggernaut third party? So how would I feel if Nintendo pulled a Sega? I'd be sad. I mean, that would certainly be the end of an era. I mean, as long as Nintendo is still making great video games, I mean, I will survive. But that would be a tremendous loss for the industry. I don't think the video game industry would be better for it. Nintendo has unquestionably made humongous contributions, not just in video game software, but in video game hardware too. And there's a little thing flying around. Get out of my house, little buzzy flying thing! I'm coming for you after I'm done recording. You watch your insect ass. Take a look at your modern video game controller. This is a PS4. No, this is a PS3 controller. I'm sorry. I just grabbed what was laying around. The D-pad. Well, that was Nintendo. Shoulder buttons. That was Nintendo. Analog sticks. Yeah. Nintendo. All modern controllers have rumble motors. Yeah. Nintendo. So, while Nintendo may not have invented all these things, I mean, force feedback is not a Nintendo invention, but it did definitely popularize its use in video game controllers. Hell, Nintendo pretty much invented saving your game. The Western release of Legend of Zelda was, so far as I can determine, the first video game that actually used a battery backup in order to save your game. Prior to that, you used passwords, which were a lot of times a real big pain in the butt, or you beat the game in one sitting. So now you can save games to a hard drive or, you know, an external memory card. They actually, I'd have to walk over and get one, but they had memory packs for this. You can save them to the cloud, but you know, it was Nintendo's hardware innovations, if not inventing the actual mechanics, at least the implementation of it. So, saving our game kind of started with Nintendo. But you can also look at its contributions to the handheld arena. I mean, it started out with the Game & Watch kind of stuff, and then it moved to the Game Boy, which you could swap games in and out of, and that sucker lasted for over a decade. And Nintendo still owns the handheld market. And that's resulted in today now the Nintendo Switch, which is essentially a portable console. Motion control. You know, Sony's pads have motion control. Both Sony and Microsoft tried to ape this with, the Move and the Kinect, to various degrees of success or lack thereof. But my point is, I think the industry would be worse if Nintendo was no longer there, being its goofy self. Which is not, again, and I say that because not every Nintendo contribution has went somewhere. The Virtual Boy, crash and burn, right? Maybe 20 years too early for virtual reality. It was actually some pretty neat hardware if you could stare at it longer than a couple of minutes without getting a splitting headache. But I like the fact that there's a company out there that's willing to try these ridiculous, wacky things. Do you think Sony or Microsoft or even Sega would have even tried something like this? I mean, whatever you think of motion controls, I hate them. I think there are ways to implement them that are additive to a game's experience. But really the thing I liked best about this thing was the pointer control, and that's the thing that got dropped. So, you know. I think Nintendo's unbridled passion for innovation and trying new things and just introducing things for fun is something that genuinely pushes the industry in new directions, pushes it to try new things. A lot of times Nintendo will, or the other companies will try to play catch up with Nintendo. I mean, you saw the Wii U, which was not well received, the tablet controller, and then you end up with the PS4 controller, which has that touchpad thing on it. You had Microsoft trying the smart glass thing. Without Nintendo there to give everyone else a kick in the pants, or at least Nintendo, I think, needs to be there. I think it's that spark of creativity, that muse, that source of inspiration that a lot of other companies glom onto and take advantage of. And if we lose that, I think the industry is worse off for it. But at least we will still have some great games, because Nintendo still, through software alone, will manage to innovate in that arena as it has done for decades. So, I mean, unless, you know, Nintendo goes, all right, Nintendo goes third party and all of the people who make Nintendo leave the company, and it just becomes a husk of its former self just with the name. Rare! Pardon me. That would be sad. But I don't think Nintendo's getting out of the hardware market anytime soon. So, no worries here. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to strap on some weights and run up a hill. And I'm really looking forward to that.